Hey guys, it's Ellie. So this video is for my elementary students. To all of my elementary students here in New Braunfels who I've already done these lessons with, I just wanted to say hi and I miss you guys so much. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and hopefully next year I'll get to come back to your campus and see you. But this will be a little bit of a refresher for you all. And then the rest of you who haven't seen this, so a little bit that I'm going to talk about in this video is part of my first lesson, just to try to keep them short. So like I said, this is for my elementary age students, so kinder through 5th grade. Parents, you can watch this with your student if you would like, so you can talk to them more about this afterwards, but feel free to leave comments, questions, anything like that on the video afterwards if you feel the need to. So today we're looking at relationships. We're looking at the basics. We're going to start with that, and then we're going to get more into body safety, boundaries, consent, all of that. Okay, so today we're talking about relationships, and what I like to first do is define what relationships are we going to be looking at and talking about. And the relationships that we're looking at and talking about are the main ones that you have in your life right now, which is going to be with your peers and then with family members. And I know you're not with school staff right now, but typically you are. So we're going to talk about school staff, which looks like coaches and teachers, nurses, principal, assistant principal, counselors, all of that, okay? Those are the main relationships that you have in your life. The reason why we talk about the connections that we have with people, and the reason why we look at the difference between healthy and unhealthy, is because a lot of the time we can think that we have healthy relationships with people, or there are behaviors that will allow to happen in our relationships with our friends or with family members or with school staff. Things that have become normalized or that we think are okay, but really they're not okay. And if we stop to think about it, all of those behaviors actually make us feel good? And that's the whole point of this, is we want to have healthy relationships that make us feel good about ourselves, that make us make good choices or help us to make good choices. Because right now, especially at your age, those of you who are in 5th grade and going to be going into 6th grade, a lot changes for you. So it's good for you to have a nice solid support system that really does have these healthy characteristics that we're going to focus on today. Because the people that you have around you, they do have an influence on how you feel about yourself, the decisions that you make. So it is very important for us to have a healthy support system and to make sure that the people that we're choosing to have around us, they actually are practicing healthy behaviors and they are healthy connections. And the other part of it too that I'll always talk about is making sure that you yourself are practicing those healthy behaviors. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, these are the relationships that we're going to be focusing on today. And then we're focusing on healthy right now. We will go over unhealthy, but just to keep the video short for you, we're going to focus on healthy right now. So I asked right here what's needed, and here are the main things that are needed for all of our relationships. Even as you grow older and your relationships change, like, of course you'll grow older and have dating relationships, or whenever you get a job and you have coworkers, you're always forming new relationships. And these are the basics of what's needed in our relationships in order for us to feel healthy and happy and safe, okay? So the first one is support. Now, support can look different to different people. It can feel different to different people. And so typically, those of you who have taken my class, I like to ask you, what does support mean to you? What does that look like? What does that feel like? A lot of the responses that I get looks like it means someone who cheers you on whenever you've done a good job. So like your teacher telling you, hey, you've done a really good job on this assignment, or hey, you did a really good job on this test, right? Or with friends, whenever you want to try something new, or whenever you do good in a game or a sport and they tell you, hey, good job, right? For others, it looks more like the emotional support. So talking to a friend or talking to a family member about what you're feeling and what you're going through, and knowing that they're there to support you, which means they listen and they They validate how you're feeling, right? They try to understand how you're feeling. They don't make you feel bad for feeling what you're feeling. They don't make fun of you. They don't go and tell everybody else about it. They talk to you about it. They listen to you. They're there for you. They try to give you advice and help you through it, right? That's what a lot of people say support is. So parents, if you're watching with your student, I would like for you to ask them, what does support mean to them? Because support, it looks different for every person. So asking them, what does support mean? What does that look like for them? What does that feel like? Okay. The next one, safety. Safety is really, really important. So I ask students typically, what does safety look like to you at school? And there's different kinds of safety, right? There's emotional safety, and then there's the physical safety. So emotional safety, let's say, like, again, with friends, how we just talked about, you can talk to them about what you're going through, and you know that they're going to listen to you. They're not going to make fun of you. They're going to try to help you. Same with like counselors, right? You know that you can go to your counselor and you can talk to them about the more serious stuff that you're going through, or any other trusted adult that you may have. You can go to them about the more serious, heavier, bigger stuff that you're going through, and you know that they're going to be there to help you and keep you safe emotionally, right? They're not going to hurt your feelings. They're not going to make fun of you. But then the physical safety. So that can look like your school, how they do fire drills, right? Sometimes fire drills can be a little bit scary. Loud noises, everyone's rushing out. But the point of that is the school is trying to keep you safe in case if there is an actual fire, right? They know that they're going to be able to get you out of the building and keep you all safe. That's your school's way of trying to keep you safe. Or checking people in before they're allowed to get into the actual school, or before they're able to pick a student up. They have to check IDs. That's to keep you all safe, right? So your school, that's their way of helping to keep you safe physically. Other ways, like at home, parents or guardians, how they lock the doors at night, right? Making sure that nobody's gonna come in, keeping you safe, or making sure that you wear a seatbelt in the car, keeping you physically safe, giving you food and shelter and clothing, keeping you physically safe and healthy, right? But with our friends, that looks like, our friends not hitting us or pushing us or throwing things at us, or even pretending to do that, or even threatening to hurt us physically, right? Or emotionally. We want to make sure that our friends are helping to keep us emotionally and physically safe, and that includes not threatening to do something, right? Even if they don't actually do it, then threatening is unhealthy, which is one that we'll talk about in another video. But that's safety, okay? That's really, really important in all of our relationships. If you ever feel unsafe in any of your relationships, please talk to a trusted adult about it. That goes back to the Circle of Trust video that we did. That was one of my first ones. So looking at your circle of trust and who would you go to if anyone was making you feel unsafe. That includes if it's a family member, or if it's a best friend, or if it's someone at school, like a teacher or anybody, because it could be anybody who might make you feel unsafe, all right? So if anyone is making you feel unsafe in any of your relationships, it's not just strangers, but people that you know, make sure that you talk to a trusted adult about it, okay? All right, let's look at our next one. So trust. This one, usually the answer that I get is, you can tell your friend a secret and they won't tell anyone else about it. So that is something that we will cover in another video, because there are some secrets that are okay to keep, but there are some that aren't okay to keep. So secrets are kind of tricky. Typically, I like to say that most secrets just shouldn't be secrets. Surprises are okay, because surprises are something that everyone's going to find out about, but secrets can be so tricky. So there is an activity that I'll do with you guys in another video, and we'll talk about that, because there are some things that our friends may talk to us about, and they may tell us like, hey, please don't tell anyone, but there's some secrets that they're not okay to keep. So we will talk about that a little bit. But trust, it can look, again, like being able to talk to someone about something and knowing that they'll listen. Or, if you give your sibling one of your toys or your phone or just one of your belongings and knowing that they're going to take care of it. Or, you know, your teachers. Your teachers have to trust you sometimes with their belongings. I mean, how many times do you have to use something that belongs to your teacher or something that belongs to the school? That's your teachers and that's the school trusting that you're going to take care of it, that you're going to return it, right? Or at home with your parents trusting you with decision making. So trust. Parents, talk to your kids about trust. What does that mean to them? What does that feel like? What does that look like? Because trust is really important too. We need to have that in our relationships in order for them to be healthy. Okay? Communication. So there's healthy communication and there's unhealthy communication. We will talk about what unhealthy communication looks like because we practice unhealthy communication so often, especially with people that we care about. For some reason, you know, like name calling, and we say that we're just joking around, or ignoring someone, silent treatment, all of that. Those are forms of unhealthy communication. Healthy communication looks like cheering someone on, supporting them. Listening is a huge part of healthy communication. Just like now or in my lessons, listening is so important because if I were to ask a question and you're not listening, well, then you can't respond, right? And then you're not really getting anything out of the lesson. Neither you or I are getting anything out of that relationship because one person isn't listening, one person isn't doing their part, which is something we'll talk about in a minute. So listening is a great form of healthy communication. Your tone and level. So, you know, if you have an attitude or if you're yelling at someone, it's a form of unhealthy communication. So trying to stay calm, using a nicer tone with somebody. How about, you know, giving someone a compliment? Or like if you are playing a game with a friend and you lose, not making the other person feel bad for winning and you losing, you know, being supportive. Those are all forms of healthy communication. Also, respect. Respect is another healthy aspect that we need, or characteristic that we need in our relationships. So respect, usually whenever I ask my students what that means to them, a lot of them say, you know, ask before you come into my room, or ask before you borrow my things, which kind of takes me into boundaries. Respect for them, I ask, you know, how can you show your teachers respect? Raise your hand, right? Or don't talk whenever the teacher is talking. Listen to them, don't talk back. Same with your parents or guardians at home. If they ask you to clean your room, you know, don't have them ask you hundreds of times to clean your room. So respect can look like listening, following directions, not talking back, just helping someone, or again, if someone lends you something, taking care of it, right? Like it's your own, and then making sure that you return it whenever you said that you're gonna return it. So talk to them about what respect means, parents, okay? So boundaries, let's get into that, because like I said, a lot of my students will tell me respect to them means like their parents knocking before coming into their room, or their siblings, whenever they tell their siblings, hey, don't go into my room, don't touch my things, their siblings respecting that. So by you, students, by you telling someone, hey, can you please knock before you come in my room? Or can you please not touch my stuff? That's you setting a boundary. So boundaries are lines or limits, right? Boundaries, it's kind of like at school whenever you have a desk. Your desk is your boundary, right? That's your personal space. No one should really be in that area or touching anything on your desk. Boundaries are like if you're in line, having that personal space, not getting too close to somebody. Or in sports, there are certain lines that you don't cross. If you go outside of those lines, you're out of bounds, right? So boundaries are lines, they're limits, they're rules, they're guidelines. Even adults have boundaries that are set up for us out in society, like laws as far as the road goes and driving. You know, we have all kinds of guidelines and boundaries set up for us. Boundaries are there to help keep us safe. So it's really important that in all of our relationships, even as you get older, that you have boundaries, that you set boundaries, and that when other people set boundaries, you respect those boundaries. So that can look like, especially in the classroom, if someone is too close to you, asking them, hey, can you give me a little bit of space? That's okay for you to set that physical boundary, right? And you hope that they respect it. Now, if they don't, obviously don't go and yell at them or push them. Maybe be a little bit more assertive and say, hey, I asked you, please give me some space. That's okay, right? And then if they're still not listening, go and talk to a trusted adult about it. But setting boundaries is really important. So basically what I'm gonna tell you guys, my definition for a boundary whenever it comes to our relationships, it's what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. It's important for you to know what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. It's gonna look different depending on the people, you know, like with your friends, you might be okay with them being a little bit closer to you. With a stranger, obviously you're gonna have a different boundary where you don't want them that close to you. So vocalizing that. But again, the other side of that is if in class or at home, you know, someone asks you, hey, can you please give me some space? Or if your teacher tells you you're not allowed to go behind my desk, respecting that boundary that's been set, all right? It goes both ways. Now the last two that we're gonna talk about, honesty. Honesty is really important, obviously. Honesty does not mean being rude, but it just means, you know, you can, like if your friend is doing something and it's making you uncomfortable, being honest with them about it. Or being honest with family members or school staff about how you're feeling, or if you're stressed out, what's going on, you know, being able to be honest is really important, but also knowing that other people are honest with you. And then I put togetherness here. I always like to talk about this. This one is more specific to with like our peers, because a lot of the time what we see happen, and it happened to me growing up too, is we'll get that best friend, right? And they're our best friend and we do everything together and we talk to each other about absolutely everything. And that's great, that's fantastic. But then what would happen is whenever I would try to hang out with someone else or talk to someone else or I would make other friends, my best friend would get really angry and would tell me things like, well, if you go hang out with them, then you're not really my friend. Or if you talk to them, then I'm not gonna be friends with you anymore. And so it turned out to where, you know, I was spending time with that best friend because I felt like I had to. We're spending time together because I felt like I had to, not because I wanted to. There's a difference. With our friends and our friendships, it is important for you to have more than one friend. And it's okay for you to have more than one friend. And for anyone to make you feel like it's not okay for you to have more than one friend, that's unhealthy. Because something to think about is, yes, it's great for you to have, you know, that one friend that you feel really comfortable with, but all of our relationships, they're gonna have conflicts. It's like a roller coaster, right? We'll have ups where things are really good, and we'll have downs where we get into arguments or we don't agree on something. And maybe, you know, at school we don't talk or something, or you stop hanging out. Well, if you only have that one friend and something happens and you kind of are on that downside of the roller coaster, you're not talking, you're not hanging out, then how might you feel? You might feel alone, right? And you don't deserve to feel that way. And so it is important for us to have more than one friend. And also because different people offer us different things. You know, one friend might be really great for us to be able to talk about like our feelings. And then another friend might be really great for like just being able to like laugh with or joke around with or whatever it may be. So spending time together because you want to, not because you feel like you have to. Really important, okay? The last thing that I'm gonna talk about, because my voice is going away, is partnership. So I put partnership on here because all of our relationships should be like a partnership. The way I describe it is, it's like at school. If you have a project at school, okay, and you have a partner for that project. So let's say for this project, typically how it goes is you have to do your portion of the work. You cannot do your partner's portion of the work for them, right? They have to do their own too. Let's say that you do your portion and they don't do theirs. What's gonna happen to both of you? right? You're both gonna fail. Or what might happen is maybe you tell the teacher like, hey, I did my portion, they just didn't do theirs. And then, so maybe you get credit for your portion and you still get a good grade, but how are you gonna feel about that person? You might not trust them anymore, you might be disappointed, you probably won't wanna do another project with them, right? Or sometimes what does happen is we end up doing all of the work on our own and they don't do any of it. And then yes, you get a good grade, but they get credit for something that they didn't do. You're gonna feel the same, right? Frustrated. Like you're doing all of the work and you're not gonna wanna do another project with them. It's the same with all of our relationships. All of this, the healthy behaviors, they go both ways. You know, it's just like if, I've told those of you who I've done lessons with, respect, right? And communication. If I'm talking, I need you to listen, right? Or raise your hand or wait until I'm done talking to speak. But I need to do the same for you. If you're speaking to me, I need to listen. I need to not interrupt, right? Otherwise, it's gonna end up upsetting you. And then that's gonna create an imbalance and one person's gonna end up feeling upset. And that's not something that we want in our relationships, right? It's the same with boundaries. You need to set boundaries and they need to be respected, but same with others. When they set boundaries, we need to respect their boundaries. Safety, making sure that we make other people feel safe, right? Trust, making sure that we can trust those who we keep closest to us and that they can also trust us. And same with support, right? The togetherness. Yes, our friends need to allow us to have other friends. We need to do the same for them. So all of this, it goes both ways, all right? Just making sure that your relationships, they're a partnership. So this is something I want you to think about today. Think about the people closest to you practicing these healthy behaviors, but also keeping in mind, are you practicing these healthy behaviors? Because again, we can't control other people, right? We can't change other people, but we do have control over ourselves and the decisions that we make. And so if we see that we're practicing these healthy behaviors and we talk to a friend about like, hey, you know, I don't really like the way that you're talking to me, or I don't really like whenever you do this, or I feel like you don't listen whenever I talk to you, and they just keep doing the same thing over and over again, it doesn't mean that you have to completely stop being friends with them, but it does mean that it's okay for you to set boundaries. And it's okay for you to kind of say like, okay, maybe I'm not going to talk to them about this stuff anymore. Or maybe I'm just going to kind of start distancing myself and finding other people who can do those things, who can listen to me, people who I can trust, right? So start looking at that. Think about yourself and your own behaviors, and are you practicing healthy behaviors? And then in my next video, we're going to go over unhealthy and how that makes us feel. And then we're going to also cover the secrets part of it. So I hope you guys have a great day. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave that there. Or again, you can call us, you can email us, message us through Facebook, whatever it may be. Sorry about my voice today. It's a little bit gross. But yeah, if y'all have any questions, let me know. And thank you guys. I miss y'all. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.